Yeah.
What's up?
What it do?
Morning. Look at Kamal in the building first thing.
Morning.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Wow, look at that.
It's too bad we didn't bet today. I would have won.
But so you had bets that I would be here. I appreciate that.
Don't believe the hype.
We sent his kids the protective gear set, the BPM headgear set, so they can bounce out the car, stop, drop, and roll real quick.
Yeah,
the BPM
exactly.
helmet and the elbow pads. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Got the boom.
They get there.
All of the above.
Drop off of school.
They have
Teach them a lot about life. You know. That's what I'm here
Be
for.
humble.
That's why I'm a good daddy.
What up?
Sometimes you gotta jump out and go. You know what I mean?
Stop, drop, and roll. That's how we do it around here.
Blood is earth salve. You just rub that in. You go. You know what I'm saying? Just rub it in. What's up?
You better put some water on
put
that.
some dirt on it.
Exactly. We're clean that right up.
Put some butter on it from Baba Luke Mom.
There it is.
That's it.
Wait a minute, y'all got some jerseys on? What them jerseys say?
We
Look at 'em.
do,
Yeah.
courtesy of Mr. Lukman. We're previewing our protest attire for this summer.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
And we're gonna test it out
Foundation.
today because they have a protest that we're gonna attend down at
the State Department.
State Department.
People are mobilizing in support of the brothers and sisters over in Sheikh Jarrah in Palestine.
Right. All that nonsense they doing down there at Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Okay,
right.
no doubt. Al-Aqsa.
Hey, speaking of that, I just saw. I know it came out in 2019, but Abby Martin's they just put up on the Empire Files channel their 2019 documentary on Gaza. And it's a very well done inside look of what it's like on a day-to-day basis for people in Gaza and how they got there. For instance, I didn't know 75% of Gaza residents were forced there from surrounding neighborhoods that they lost land, where they got removed from the land. I didn't realize it was that high, that number percent that high. So anyway, it's a well-worthy protest.
Well, we're gonna be covering it for BPM, so tune in.
Yeah, and hopefully one day we'll try to get our pastor on, who has been to Palestine, and he
Pastor
took
Troy.
Reverend Hagler, Reverend Graylin Hagler.
Okay.
Pastor Troy, who is Troy? Is that another one of your weirdo friends?
Nah, not mine. That's Pastor Troy.
Pastor Troy, the rapper.
He's a rapper.
Shout out to Pastor Troy at ATL. Hey, yo, but busted.
Troy.
I was going to say real quickly that today and tomorrow, speaking of Palestine, we're going to have some guests on. We're going to sort of lay down some information about what's happening in Palestine. So folks should stay tuned for that. And about 15 years ago, I actually went to Gaza. What's called Gaza. I went to the West Bank and didn't get to go to Gaza. And this is right after the compound that Yasser Arafat still was alive was bombed, amongst many bombings, of course. So it's 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. We're talking about a total occupation of a people that still exists. So yeah.
Exactly.
I'm working on getting Damn on the morning show as well. I don't know if y'all know Damn. They're like the dead prayers of Palestine. Actually hosted a couple of concerts with them here in Atlanta in the past, and actually in our documentary organizing is a new cool. They when I was talking to them, they said they learned how to speak English from listening to Tupac music in particular. You know what I mean? So there's some real dope revolutionary hip hop artists. So I'm definitely working on getting them on because they're live and direct right where the funk is. Man,
doesn't that speak to just the internationality and the power of hip hop?
I mean, just black African culture, man. It's just just influential everywhere.
Wow. No doubt. Anyway,
I got to shout out Jared for the show yesterday.
Yes.
Why you frowning, Kamal? Why can't I get a shout out?
Battle of the Beach.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Because who didn't you have on yesterday? You had Jamu, Charo, in Colombia, Daruba, and David D. And what's going on in Colombia is the way the U.S. media is ignoring it is very similar to what the U.S. media does with what goes on in Palestine. And it's very similar to what the U.S. media does in regard to what has gone on in Brazil, in Venezuela, and as far as these right-wing U.S.-backed forces in Uganda, terrorizing the people. So that was really, really wonderful to have Charo on, because she normally does not do. She's very, for as powerful as she is, she's very shy.
Yeah, Charo is deep, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing her a number of times over the years. But yesterday, I appreciate the shout out. But yesterday, to me, is a testament to what we're doing here at BPM, straight up. Because in each case, all of those people reached out to me and said, "We need some time to rap. Can we come on?" And it worked out that we could line it all up like that. So yeah, it looked good. I mean, it was a great show. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. I encourage people to check it out if they missed it. But that's what we're here for. People know, like, we want to encourage people to understand that this is the outlet.
That's right.
And Daruba's always like that. I don't ever, I mean, Kalonji, y'all know, and Kamal know him better than I do. But I don't. People sometimes think that Jared, can you get us in touch with Daruba? Blah blah blah. No, Daruba puts the signal up. And I'm like, all right, let's go. I'm like, and that's it. Send him a link, and he's, that's it. Anyway, that was, but I appreciate that, Jackie. Anyway, go ahead.
It's crazy that, like, when like when you talk about Daruba and whatnot, right? Shout out to Daruba, right?
Absolutely,
absolutely.
Yep.
The brother who helped to get most of these gray hairs in my chin, in my hair, what I'm saying, all over the place. It's man, I'm grateful for folks like him and Baba Mukasa and OG Shock and some of these other.
That's what I was gonna say. Shout out to Renegade Culture for that interview, or interviews, I should say, on your last episode, which of course didn't air exactly as planned at the time, but it was worth the slight wait.
It was worth the wait. It was worth
the
wait.
But I tell you one thing too, Kalonji, I got to give you credit, man. Being a Jersey boy myself, I got to give you credit, man, for that Akbar Prey interview, man, because
absolutely,
when I checked that out, man, and of course I remember Akbar's time when he was out there. And it made me, when your interview had me, encouraged me to really look back into his case and stuff again, man. That brother should be out, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And 72 years old, and I wouldn't mind for us to start another petition or movement or something to get that brother out, because everybody else that was, as he said in the interview, everybody else that was around with him, they out now.
Yeah, including his suppliers.
That's
they
right.
Did 8 and 12 years, and he has life plus 50. So I'm glad you saying that, Baba Lukman, because of the fact that I've been knowing his daughter for years. In fact, when she did her thesis, she interviewed me, and she was so, I mean, she rocked it basically, but she was a supporter of our Feed the People program, and that's one of the things they're looking to do is reopen his case. So definitely, hopefully the whole BPM will get behind it. And I had folks asking questions like, well, would you consider him a political prisoner? Everything in America is political. The fact that there's drugs on the street is political. So you can say he's a social prisoner, but the fact is his circumstances. And I encourage you, I'm not gonna get all into it, but I encourage you all to check out the podcast that the brother's talking about, that particular episode on Riot Starter TV. Akbar Prey, when you talk about folks like Ricky Ross, when you talk about folks like Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes and all that, he's on that stature. In fact, he was one of the first of 3 who was convicted under a super kingpin law.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Which he had to do life plus. So he has life plus 50, and he went in at age 40, but he's on point. And he's looking to do some work with us as well, as far as writings and everything. Anyway,
my favorite part of yesterday's broadcast too with Jared, though, and it's something Kalonji mentions, was to see Davey D and Jared nerded out. Hip hop and all things Dolores Tucker, and all things about whether or not the liberals, basically the argument about whether liberal capture is worse than what the conservative capture is, which is basically the argument. I felt, to see them go at it was kind of fantastic.
I woke up, I was like, look at these two nerds arguing about hip hop.
He's like, you're missing my point. If I could just read.
I got it. That's messed up. That's messed up. But I encourage everybody to check out the debate.
It was good.
Hey, I'm proud of my nerddom. I don't have.
Hey, we all nerds, brother.
Yep.
Hey, the nerds. Hey, look, the nerds are on top right now.
No doubt. Nerds ruthless.
Yeah. Ruthless nerds.
Anyway.
Oh man, look, we got some stuff to get into this morning, though.
Yes.
I know the ear doctor's gonna I don't know, swoop in, swing in, fly in. I don't know what he's coming in on. He might ride in on something. I don't know. He might be. I don't know what he's coming in on in a minute.
He might be in Palestine.
You never know. He might. Anyway. But I don't know exactly all the stories, but I know we're gonna go visit Bill Gates this morning. In addition to some other things, we're gonna go. We visited the Obamas and Oprah so far. I think it's time to go check on our man Bill.
Is
Linda gonna be home?
His divorce bachelor pad now?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, yeah. Oh, you know, who knows where she's at? You know, but
she with Donald.
Did I hear correctly that Bill Gates is now on Tinder?
What?
Was that a joke? I don't know if it was a joke.
I don't try to be a billionaire.
Did they mean he owns Tinder now?
That's probably what they meant. That's probably what they meant. He bought Tinder, not that he's on Tinder. Sorry, I must have misheard that. Thank you.
That's plenty of
and shout out to all these folks showing up in the morning. We appreciate seeing you all here this morning.
Salute.
Good morning, everybody.
Yes. Anyway, where the ear doc at, man? I mean, you know.
You need some new backgrounds. There's only so many times we can go.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, this is the weather, man. You see?
Oh, my bad.
Oh, that's what it's supposed to.
That's what it's supposed to.
I didn't get it.
Okay.
Anyway, I hope y'all had a great weekend. I hope y'all had a great, to the moms and queens, I hope you had a great Mother's Day. I rocked out on Sundays for the ladies and the mothers and the queens. So check that out too. I'm gonna give y'all the weather right about now.
Sweet.
Appreciate you.
RemiX.
What's good, everybody? This is the Ear Doctor, and y'all are tuned into Black Power Media. And I came to give you the weather as I do every day from Tuesday to Thursday. So we're gonna start off in the Bean, aka Boston, Massachusetts, where they get their cars stolen and stuff like that. Yo, the high in Boston today is going to be 62 degrees. Now let's take it over to Oklahoma City, where they're going to have a high of 55 degrees. Yo, is it me or is it just like mad cold at this time of year for some reason? I don't know. Some days it is, some days it ain't. All right, let's take it to Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, Nevada is going to be a high of 85 degrees. And then let's take it all the way to Kigali, Rwanda, where it's going to be 72 degrees as a high. Now, let's take it to where it's going to be colder than the white man. And not just any white man. Let's talk about Charles Lynch. Charles Lynch. Now, Charles Lynch, you know, the verb, the last name, the verb from lynching comes from him. And the verb comes from the phrase lynch law, a term for a punishment without trial. Now, two Americans during this era were generally credited for coining that phrase. And one was Charles Lynch and his boy, William Lynch, a.k.a. Willie. Willie Lynch, you know, the one who showed you how to make a slave. But Charles Lynch, lynching came from his name, so I got to say, he's cold, 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 cold. And where is it cold like that? It is cold in Bartensburg, Norway, with a high of 28. And now that is your weather for the day. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. Now let's take it back to the morning crew. You know how we do. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to all the white men. Stay cold.
Yo,
What's that T-shirt say, man? What's that T-shirt? What's on that T-shirt?
Oh, this right here is the Black Man's Lab. This is a organization I get down with where we talk to kids from 6 all the way to 80, and we talk about how to improve black thought, black ways, and all types of things that help lift us up as men. So yeah, big up to my people over there.
Hey yo, on the real, shout out to the ear doctor. We be ragging on him and whatnot, but the ear doctor does some great work in the community. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Assisting a number of different folks out there, like Attorney Miley Davis, working out there with the youth or whatever. So I want to shout him out. I know Kamal's looking like I know he about to say something.
All these nice, y'all all nice this morning.
I
appreciate that. Shout outs.
Oh, and I want to make a statement.
It's grimy.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm gonna get back to that because I heard some folks was talking about I was pressured into not cursing. I'm gonna have to bomb a little bit later. Now some of y'all take y'all children to school. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Anyway,
I catch y'all next break, man.
Peace. We about to go to international news real quick, man. Let the globe start spinning.
Look at May making us look good out here on the Remix Morning Show.
I know.
And
I feel so professional.
And speaking of which, I hope everybody out here has liked and shared and subscribed and told their friends, foes, comrades, colleagues, etc., and so forth to get on this Boom Bap Breakfast, the baddest morning show on the planet. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we converted the haters. They ain't show up this morning.
No haters.
They didn't even show. We didn't have to earn it this morning. We have already earned it. I kind of like that.
Early still. It's still.
But you know what? I want to say that I got I did get a inbox I noticed on Facebook. Somebody was talking mad reckless. So I mean, making threats. They even tried to dish you, Kamal. I forgot to tell you. You know what I'm saying?
You forgot to
on
tell
their
me
page.
that
I mean, well, you know, that happens all the time. It never seems to amaze. But anyway, dude was talking real quick. I got to pull his name up later on and whatnot. But I didn't respond because I don't respond to all bull. You know what I'm saying? But best believe that I hear you. We podcast hosts. But if you run up at the wrong day and the wrong time, you'll get mashed the fuck up. I just got to say that. You know what I mean?
Podcast.
You just decided to issue a general threat on air or something like that.
Oh no! It's not a threat.
It's like, yo, I'm not saying no names, but I'm just letting you know. I got it. And if I see you,
I'm just saying, I'm just, you know, for the viewers or whatever, I'm just letting you know, like, look, we just podcast on the part-time, but we regular brothers and sisters, so don't get it twisted and whatnot. And I don't issue threats, you know what I'm saying, and I don't bluff. So take that back with you. Put that in your inbox. Anyway, moving right along to the remix. What we got coming up, Jared Ball?
Well, so I know you had. There's at least one story that you had for us that I want to, make sure you get in here. But there's a couple stories anyway that I thought were worthy of some at least some discussion. And I want to eventually connect this and shout this out to one of my daughter's teachers. But I'm gonna get there in a second. But this first one, I just want to start with, I think The Intercept has rightly gotten a lot of criticism lately. And by the way, when Barrett Brown comes on the show Friday morning,
did he freeze up?
Okay,
he froze.
We have a new Dr. Freeze, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's Man Jones.
That's a beige freeze flavor. I don't know what's happening.
Beige freeze.
Beige freeze. Prince Manila. That's the nicest picture I've seen of Jared in a long time. Look at him. He looking like, darling, you.
Classic nerd. We're trying to give him time because he's got the first story going on. Somebody going to jump in. and finish off this story for him or something.
Okay, I mean, if it's about vaccines, y'all don't want me to do it, so I'm
So what it looks like basically is, that what we figure how the U.S. government under the supposedly so much better Biden administration, Build Back Better Biden, is in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies to basically profit off of these vaccines. I mean, so they have financial stakes in the distribution of the vaccines. They're not, Pfizer, Johnson and Johnson, all these other companies that are mentioned in this article. There's something called the Stonebridge Group, ASG. Madeline Albright is involved in this. She founded one of these consulting firms that are linked to Pfizer. A lot of White House advisors, State Department leaders, healthcare officials have financial stakes in or professional ties to the vaccine manufacturers. So, like, whatever you feel personally about vaccines in general, and this vaccine or these vaccines in particular, to me, and we've talked about this before, that's like never been our issue, because we feel like people should approach their own individual medical, whatever it is. That's your business. You do what's best for you. But we should never lose sight of the fact that this government and the people running this government, I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans, they're all capitalists. These pharmaceutical companies, they're capitalists. They're not, what's the guy who created polio, the polio vaccine?
Salk.
Yeah, they're not like, Jonas Salk, who created the polio vaccine and said, I'm not going to charge any money for this. I'm just going to give it away so that it can be distributed among the people for the common good of all humanity. Right. Nobody who is involved in the United States in these vaccines is approaching the distribution, the manufacturing of the distribution of these vaccines. None of them in the way Jonas Salk did with the polio vaccine. These people don't care if we live or die. They're like, yeah, if the vaccines work, okay, that's great. We don't want to get sued. Like, they have a financial interest in making sure that the vaccines don't kill a bunch of people because they don't want to get sued.
Right.
But they're not going to say, well, we're just going to release this so that it can be available to all the public for the good of humanity, because that's not how capitalists think. So
I think we're at a time where you talk about the phrase disaster capitalism.
Yep, I was just thinking
which fits in perfectly always around what these issues, when these issues develop or tragedies happen, or whether or not they're quote unquote people-made tragedies, or whether or not there's something around what was happening with the earth in terms of storms or disasters or earthquakes or whatever it is, floods. There are always these corporations ready to swoop in, and then there are government benefactors who are willing to aid them, not only in swooping in, but in gaining their own profit. And like you said, none of it is done out of sort of the quote unquote goodness of the heart. Everything is phrased as if it's done because of their interest in preserving humanity, but it's never done without a profit motive. And that's always what we see, which is why the distribution channels are always screwed up. That's why it's about who gets what first, because basically it's who can pay first. And so that's how their system works. It's not about sort of making sure global humanity is better or safe. It's about that profit margin first. And if they can't, not unless there's so much public pressure that they have to give, like, okay, in this small place here, we'll give some free vaccines or some free this or whatever. But if it doesn't keep the engines of profit going, then they're just really not interested in doing it.
I agree. I think that vaccines are like diets and religion. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a personal choice. If that's what you're into, knock yourself out. I'm not the person to go around bashing folks for what it is they feel, what they believe, but I will express myself. Right. I agree with the whole thing in regards to the whole capitalism situation. Here it is. We have Johnson & Johnson, where just a few years ago, there was an uproar around the baby powder and the talc in the baby powder causing ovarian cancer. And these are the folks who come back and do a rewind, and now they're giving out vaccines. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of confused about that whole theory. I think that what needs to happen is, unfortunately, corporations play a major role in government, food, healthcare, and the whole nine. If you can't trust these folks to do the things that they're supposed to do, how can you trust them to bring in whatever's new to help solve issues or whatever that are life threatening, and so on and so forth? So that's just my take on that particular company, along with so many others. But
yeah, but also the fact that even in India, and they manufacture vaccines, and yet here it is, the kind of crisis that they're going through right now with not having enough oxygen, not having enough vaccines to go around, and the fact that the United States and others who manufacture the vaccine, they had to be shamed into releasing the patents because they were holding the patents in order to make those type of profits.
Right. But here's the thing, though. So the Biden administration says, okay, fine. I don't think we should hold the patents. We should release the patents so that, the vaccines can be distributed. But the people connected to the Biden administration already have millions of dollars in financial stakes in these companies. People like Anita Dunn, a strategist on his presidential campaign, has a big financial stake in SKDK, one of the companies that provides public relations and advertising services to Pfizer. Susan Rice holds a $5 million stake. She owns $5 million in shares of Johnson & Johnson and $50,000 of shares in Pfizer. Eric Lander, the White House chief science advisor, holds $1 million in shares of BioNTech, Pfizer's partner. Anthony Blinken consulted for Gilead Science, the company that produced Remdesivir. Chiquita Brooks LaSure, Biden's pick for the Centers for Medicare and Medicare Services, served as an attorney for both Pfizer and Gilead on federal policy issues. Aside from these people like being really crappy politicians in the first place, Susan Rice, but I think this really exposes how we can never trust these politicians, these career politicians, to do anything in regard to public policy, even when it comes to health, public health, that doesn't involve them making money. They already have massive financial stakes in these corporations. So then it explains why the United States didn't participate in the COVAX, the World Health Organization's COVAX program to distribute the vaccines to developing countries, to poor countries. It explains why Cuba now, even though they've developed 5 vaccines of their own, they have a shortage of syringes because of U.S. sanctions. None of these people are lifting sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela and Iran and China to help them distribute their vaccines because they would lose money. They'd lose their money so I mean, it's just such a horrific, incestuous capitalist relationship, and all these people shitty. Whether you take the vaccine or not, don't trust these folks for your public policy health decisions. Back to you, Jared.
My bad, everybody. I don't know what is going on over here anyway. But to your point, Jackie, one of the things I wanted to show this morning, and this again is a shout out to one of my daughter's school teachers who had one of those little, obligatory side comments about Fidel Castro in class the other day. So we're about to deal with this. There's going to be a whole lot of response to that, but we had a nice household discussion about it. So the good news is that my daughters learned even more than we had planned. Anyway, but the long story short is I wanted to point out in juxtaposition to what is being shown with the incestuous relationship between, because again, my point wasn't to be critical one way or the other of taking or not the vaccine, but to point out the capitalist business interests and the connections to the current administration, and then to point out, to juxtapose here to what's happening in Cuba, that as they were at the end of last month coming close to hitting their stage 3 clinical trials and racing towards potentially becoming the first Latin American country to develop its own shots. One of them called Soberana, which means sovereignty in Spanish, which I think is dope. And then as they, means sovereign, right? Soberana translated is to sovereign, and Abdallah was the shot named after a patriotic poem by the Cuban revolutionary hero Jose Marti. So those are the 2 shots that they're developing, which I think is dope. And then it talks about in this piece that there's no business incentive behind it, so that there's no need to rush or risk lives or transfer, there's no wealth extraction from the process to transfer into the hands of a tiny few. And then Cuba is hoping to vaccinate all of its inhabitants by the end of the year, while, as you point out, Jackie, they're being blocked by the U.S. and its allies from getting all that the resources that it needs, and they're still able to take care of their citizens. Anyway, so I just wanted to quickly point that out. I'll come back maybe another time and get more into it, as I intended to this morning. But anyway, I just wanted to quickly point out that juxtaposition and say that for whatever people want to say inside or outside a classroom or wherever people are talking about Cuba in relationship to what's going on in the, nobody should be denigrating the Cuban Revolution or trying to just besmirch what they've accomplished down there and are trying to do and what they continue to do in reaching out to care for the world. And demonstrate a relationship that this country continues to fail to do. So, anyway,
man, propaganda and indoctrination starts in the school. So that's how they do. So it's business as usual. That's why, again, I have to remind us. I remind myself often that where we are, because I think that even with us here talking about the news and the views and all of that type of stuff, I think that we underestimate the power of the state. You know what I mean? And how diabolical they are. Even when you talk about the school system, you have these teachers who have no type of politics at all. It's just like, I wanted to get a job and I want to be a good American. To be a good American simply means that you terrorize other humans across the planet. You understand what I'm saying? If you're going to be a good American, you got to uphold these morals and these laws that America doesn't have. You know what I mean? So when I see these folks, when I see an American flag flying, I'm more concerned about that American flag than the Confederate flag, because it means the same thing in my eyes.
They're indistinguishable. I mean, to me, they're indistinguishable, and I would include the Nazi flag in that for me as well. They're indistinguishable. And people always want to, for all what people want to say about the Confederate flag, I continue to point out that everything that has been done from enslavement on forward has been done under the auspices of the American flag. So let's not get that twisted. And again, to your point, just quickly, as we talked about with my children yesterday, these teachers are not, they don't know what they're talking about. They're making, as I said, an obligatory statement that they accept or expect will be just taken without question because of the way our media apparatus and educational system is set up. There is no discussion. So people don't, my children have already heard more from Fidel Castro than most adults who live and die in this country ever will. So I just wanted to take the moment to emphasize with them, and as I would here today, that the Cuban Revolution is to be defended without all the criticism that it deserves, and it's an imperfect revolution. It has to be defended and respected for what it has done and continues to do. And people try to run this little game, especially in the context of the United States, have to be checked at all times. So I'm looking forward to our next parent-teacher conference. That's all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We might have to show up with you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I feel the same. I feel the same way about the Haitian Revolution, especially how. These people, these teachers, we have to remember they are taught in the same institutions, the institutions of so-called higher learning that teach them this same misinformation, where they don't even talk about the Haitian Revolution. You know, it's like this little rebellion that some slaves maybe, you know, committed, and look at how they're paying for it because of their voodoo and all of their bad management. Look at Haiti now. So, I mean, I think all of the revolutions of marginalized people, especially people who have been the subject of U.S. and Western imperialism, it's our job to defend those revolutions and to tell the truth about them pretty much to our last breath, because we're next. We're in the belly of the beast, and we are next.
It's as
Can I just say very quickly?
It's as Noam Chomsky says. It is the threat of a good example that is why U.S. imperialism works the way it does. So obviously the socialist ideology matters, but what matters more is anything that breaks away from the Western system of control that tries to show an alternative. Again, whether or not it's Iran, Venezuela, Haiti. Obviously, we favor some over the others in terms of our own individual political ideas, but it's the threat of the good example that takes someone out of the Western orbit, out of their second tier or third tier place in the Western orbit. That means that you will face maximum pressure to make sure that they can show that, so that they can try to show your system or your revolution or your radicalness will not succeed outside of what the Western forces say you need to have.
But you know, that reminds me. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jared.
I just want to say very quickly to all those, the self-righteous who will hit me up and say something about how they're educating their children versus how I'm educating mine. I just want to say, refer back to Kalanji's previous statements about inboxing and commentary. I'll just leave it at that.
You know, I'm sorry, Kamal, that was a good point you just made just now, because, you know, about how, well, we know that imperialism being a byproduct of white supremacy and everything like that, is that even when I think about how white supremacists destroyed places like Rosewood and Black Wall Street and stuff, and all of that just to fit the narrative of white supremacy. You know, when you said something about the good example, and the example that you know, that Black folks were doing for self, that they were, you know, that they were building these thriving communities, that just didn't fit the narrative of white supremacy. So now it's like, oh no, we got to destroy this because, you know, we have to keep that myth going that, you know, that we're superior. So I thought that was a good example, that not only do they practice that abroad, but they practice it here too.
Yeah.
As we move on,
look at how the Negroes can't do anything while they're setting our shit on fire.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
As we move on to the next article, I would like to suggest that we do a show strictly dedicated to rebellions, because of the fact that we don't often hear about rebellions in like places like St. John and St. Croix. You know what I mean? Where you had Queen Mary, where they were burning things down. You know what I'm saying? You know, so I think it's necessary for us to really talk about the fire burn and so many different rebellions across the globe, because of the fact that I often hear about Haiti and Cuba, but it's a number of other different pockets across the planet that we need to address and pay homage to these ancestors who gave their lives and who took lives in their quest for freedom. Anyway, you're checking out the RemiX Morning Show, and we're gonna keep moving right along. What we got next?
So, well, one thing we could do is just as, again, this juxtaposition from rebellions in Cuba, you know, and people making money off of all the horrors in the world. I mean, yeah, I'm a vegan, but that don't mean I should have to live off of only Bill Gates Beyond Burgers and whatever Impossible Burgers.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? So I just thought, you know, but again, as we were just talking, we had this conversation in the household yesterday, like, you know, this is how and by the way, this is, okay, first of all, this is what a $170 million home looks like. I just want, and Bill Gates inside his 5 massive mansions from Seattle to Florida, which is something I thought we could, because he doesn't just have one. He has 5, at least, you know, up until, I don't know if this is, you know, going to be current after the divorce, but This is the kind of inequality we're talking about. 7 bedrooms, 24 bathrooms, 10 of which are full size, a 60-foot swimming pool, an underwater music system. I mean, all that sounds dope, and it would be lovely if people could have access to that without the levels of inequality and exploitation. That's all I'm saying. I mean, obviously, everybody's initial reaction, or I would assume, is something along the lines of, hey, that sounds pretty good. But damn, do you have to have 6 kitchens while other people out here starving to death, and a trampoline room with a 20-foot ceiling while people living in a box? You know what I mean? Anyway, so I just thought, go ahead. And as Jackie's talking, let's let Kalanji's reference to the histories of rebellion just sort of marinate in the background.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, because it's like, especially in places like Seattle, where people and California, in places in California, and it's spreading across the country now, where people who are working a full-time job can't afford a place to live, and people who are working full-time are living in their fucking cars.
Yeah.
And this guy has 5 homes big enough to house probably most of the people who are living like that in Seattle. So in the context of rebellion, I mean, our people seized stuff like this from the exploiter class, from the capitalist class, kicked them out their homes, kicked them out of the property, repatriated the stuff, punished them in various ways, and redistributed that property among the people. That was the whole point of eliminating the class disparities in places like Cuba, where the plantations were taken back from the plantation owners. And I mean, because these are nothing but plantations. The only thing he ain't got are slaves on the plantation. The slaves work in the Microsoft plants. I'm mad. Damn it to hell.
Are you sure? You sure you don't have slaves on the plantation? Because of the fact that we're just seeing what we see.
That's a good point. That's a good point, because you got to have a staff to maintain all that shit. So, man.
And remember, his net worth is listed here at 96 billion. Remember, everybody, $20 billion has been said to be the number that would end all homelessness or houselessness in this country.
Right.
So just a one-time hit of 20 billion would take care of all the houselessness, and you got people who are making that annually. Anyway,
Bezos, that I mean, he does he's at close to 150 plus. You know what I mean? I mean, it's insane. I mean, we shouldn't even be talking about revolution. We shouldn't even be talking this talk if we're not willing to take back and do what it is need to be done, because of the fact that this shit is absolutely ridiculous, that you can live in the same city or the same state as a lot of these folks and have to ride by. We live in Atlanta, and you see so many homeless folks. You know what I mean?
But at least you'll know that these folks will have to work as hard as your children, Kalanji, to get where they're going to get.
Oh yeah,
it's all fair and it's all meritocracy. Oh my bad, man. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's cool. I look forward to them meeting my children. You know what I'm saying? Because my children are clear. My children are absolutely clear. Make no mistake about that. So you know what I mean. So they'll do what we won't do. How about that? Wow.
Okay. Well. Anyway, and I encourage you. So I just thought we would take a little look at Bill Gates. I think it's always nice to see how others are living here. I only had one more, and I know, Kalanji, you had one that I actually was hoping we would put up in juxtaposition to that Bill Gates story.
Which one was that?
Now I don't remember. You had it. It was yours. It was something about. It was somebody else getting. It was probably another. It was probably another horrific killing of some kind, or some violence or something suffered. But I'm sure. Unfortunately, we'll have much more time to come back to that. So in the interim, somewhat related to that. I don't know what you all thought about this, but I thought this was a pretty interesting story from the other day. That a commission finds anti-Black police violence constitutes a crime against humanity. And I'm always interested, on the one hand, how often these international bodies The commissioners concluded that the systematic police killings of Black people in the U.S. constitute a prima facie case of crimes against humanity, and they asked the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court to initiate an investigation of responsible police officials. I do think it's interesting how often we hear of UN special rapporteurs and international councils making these sort of declarations, equating the suffering of Black people here in the United States to versions of genocide, to crimes against humanity. It doesn't seem to make the noise that I would hope it would make. And then when I read about the ICC, it is interesting. We all visited that a couple years ago at The Hague. And I asked the brother who was working there if anybody had ever been prosecuted, but who was not in the so-called global South, some African leader, some so-called Middle Eastern leader, and he kind of looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, "No,
no." The International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court was developed to train their eye on Africa, to a lesser extent Asia. And to a lesser extent, but still South America or below the United States. The United States and Europe are not signees of the International Criminal Court by design, of course, because they don't want their leaders brought into an international court. But African countries are, Europeans have pressed those countries in addition to be part of it. And it's run by basically European structures. Obviously, there's other folks who work there, but it's a European apparatus to punish. And it's not even like I'm saying they're not people who don't deserve to be held up, obviously, internationally for crimes committed within their own nations and against their own people. The problem is that the only people who are held up as criminals, and therefore, again, the European exploitation escapes any real viewing in any mass way. And so even these rapporteurs are, relatively speaking, lower level UN employees who issue reports, which they've done for decades also. And so I'm not mad at the reports, but it's also one of these things where it's sort of a paper chase around saying that these human rights violations exist. We've all done, in terms of our organizing work, where we'll bring people in to talk about in front of these rapporteurs, the issues of police brutality, the issues of homelessness, and other things that are going on. And yes, it's good because hopefully they reach some people, but the power of enforcement, again, is lacking, right? Because again, the United Nations, for the most part, particularly through the Security Council and who pays the bills, is a captured European institution. So there's some power in it for folks for nation states to sort of gather within the General Council to say, the General Assembly, I'm sorry, to say, we vote this way, we vote that. But always realize, of course, that the Security Council and through the 5 permanent member vetoes always get a bigger hand in what gets dictated as either reaching the level of something that can get punished through sanctions and even through military overthrow with the cover of some international agreement that this particular person is bad, and so therefore we're going to send troops in.
The rapporteurs are like a civilian review board, you know what I'm saying, or like or like they're toothless tigers, paper tigers. You know what I mean? It sounds good, and it's like, okay, you go to them and you're crying to Kamal saying, "Kalanji slapped me." You know what I'm saying? And like, oh, that's a shame. I can't believe that Kalanji slapped you. I'm going to talk to him. And Kamal comes to me like, "Man, why you slap that cat?" Because I felt like it. All right, listen, I talked to him. He ain't going to do it again. You know what I mean? Until I slap him again. And then it's, you know what I mean? So we know it's all game. We know that the UN is not, it sounds good in theory, but in practice, it's like it's like the vote. You know what I mean? Deciding whether or not you're going to vote for this individual because you feel like they're going to take you to another level. Like they're going to give you more rights that they're going to give you back the rights that you once had. You understand what I'm saying? So we got to be clear about their position in their role because of the fact that we'll be running around in circles charging genocide and it'll mean nothing in the grand scheme of things.
I always felt that the United Nations was just a chance for some of these leaders to just get to New York, because clearly it doesn't have any kind of I mean, the United States isn't even embarrassed by these commissions and by these statements by the so-called United Nations, man. I mean, it's like they're not even embarrassed by it. In fact, they use the United Nations, as we all know, to further commit atrocities against the Palestinians by blocking certain votes, by using their Security Council votes to support Israel and other things, man. So they're not even embarrassed by it, you know. So it's just a chance for these diplomats a lot of time. One thing I never understood, and maybe I might be naive here, I never understood why these other nations don't just leave the United Nations. Like, just like, look, why are we even here? Like, just leave. The United Nations peacekeeping forces are impregnating women all over the place. They raping people wherever they go. Then they're ineffective in a lot of the places that they go to, especially like in the Congo and other places in Africa where it's like, why even be there? You're not even effective at all. So it's just an institution, man, to me that is just worthless. The United States and for the most part, because they claim that they feel that they fund most of what they claim they fund most of the United Nations. They just feel like it's just another tool to promote their imperialist means.
And really quickly, I'll just add, I mean, one reason they don't leave is because of whatever the small resources they get, right, into international profile. And so again, like the Kalanji's example, it's almost similar like the nonprofit world today, right? You got these resources that people are giving you, and then they give you a cover of magazines, they give you platforms to speak at, they give you honorariums. And the same thing writ large is what happens internationally, right? The model is you get to speak in front of world leaders, you get to take your pictures with world leaders, and you do get some resources here and there on a nominal level. Who knows if they actually go to the things that they supposedly are supposed to go to. But ultimately, you're right. Like the how can we live in a world where Great England / Great Britain, France, United States are Security Council members? There's no permanent African nation that's on the Security Council, no permanent South American nation that's on the Security Council. These are things that were developed in the 1940s, and we're talking about 80 years now. And these nation states refuse to allow any updating of the Security Council, particularly permanent members with vetoes, because they don't want that power diluted from them. And to your point, the General Assembly time and time again, for one example, says Zionism is racism, or it's condemning what happens around the world in different places that the United States supports. Sometimes it's like 150-3, right? And the 3 being the United States, Israel, and then some third world nation that the United States has brought off who decides to vote with them or whatever. But, that has no way of stopping the overall plans because of how the game is rigged. And until that game is no longer rigged, it may be a tool in the toolbox, but it ain't exactly the sharpest tool that you're going to have at your disposal.
And it's not the tool that you need either. You know what I'm saying? You need a saw and they give you a screwdriver. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's about time for
the ear doctor.
Jesus Ear Canal to come
Jesus Ear Canal.
Brother Ear Doctor.
Where you at, man?
He's in the void.
You're in space?
Yep.
And you're on mute. You're on mute and in space.
Right. So is this a better scene, Kamal?
It's getting a little better. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
I like
what's funny? I was looking in the chat room and I see that a lover, I call them lovers because they love to hate. They want to see the ear doctor removed from this show. Let me get black on you real quick. Here's what you do. You sign a petition and send it where the Sundays don't shine. Off the show.
No, we already said. I already let my man Mac know he'll be out the audience before you off the show.
Oh,
so,
hey,
how about that?
I'm from Trenton. We call people out. That's just what it is.
There you go.
Hey, I was raised in the Section 8 suburbs of Columbia, Maryland. And I come straight to your face too. So I say it's all whatever. I mean,
there you go. That's right.
Not everybody in the hood is tough. Not everybody in the hood is tough. It's a lot of soft. It's a lot of soup sandwiches walking around in the hood talking like they hard. You know what I'm saying?
Don't let Southeast DC come out.
Damn no.
Okay.
Hey, it's
This
all good.
What goddamn show is this?
Hey,
A
listen,
lot of threats being laid down.
Wait, morning show out here now. Wow.
The man said he from a Section 8 suburb. I ain't never.
Hey, yo, but you know what? That government cheese tasted the same out there, didn't it, Jay?
It's actually true. Columbia, Maryland, by design, was designed to gentrify Baltimore and DC.
Yes,
and we were dragged out there and got $14 a month, a 2-bedroom apartment with central air conditioning.
Okay.
For $14 a month on Section 8. So, like I said, it's the suburbs. It's not the hood, but it's Section 8 suburbs.
Well, I got some sports and entertainment for y'all real quick.
No doubt. Let me shout out all the folks coins real quick. You know what I mean? The WIC and all that. You know what I mean? It's all government cheese constipation nation. It's all good.
Constipation nation.
Big ass butcher knife.
Yeah.
Blowtorch, B. Blowtorch for that
cheese. Yo, what's good, everybody? Welcome out to Black Power Media, the RemiX Morning Show. Make sure that y'all go to patreon.com and keep this movement going by dropping a little something here and there. That's what we do. Yo, let me give you a little bit of entertainment news. So we're going to start off with my boy, J. Cole. J. Cole is now joining a Rwanda Patriots, an African basketball league, to play basketball. He also is dropping an album this month, so check out J. Cole. The only other person we knew that successfully made it to the NBA that was a rapper was no other than my man Master P, who played for not only one NBA team, but the Toronto and the Charlottes. So big up to that. I hope everything works out for J. Cole over there. And now, let me tell y'all real quick about a new movie that's coming out. In case you didn't see it, this new movie is called White Chicks Part 2, where you have Serena and Lil' Kim playing the new white chicks. And also who's going to be on this new movie is co-starring our boy Sammy Sosa. Sammy Sosa also will be in the White Chicks movie, and the black evil villain will be Lindsay Lohan. That's right. Lindsay Lohan will be the black evil villain. So, y'all please check out that movie that's coming out. But for real, y'all, like J. Cole got a song called Love Yours. Love yourself and stop disrespecting the beautiful thing that you was blessed with, and that's the skin. All right, let's take it back to the morning show. All right.
What up?
Hey, what's going on? That's like the ear doctor's gospel, man. I was just reading where it said, "Verily, verily, the ear doctor says to you, please love yourself."
For real. Y'all gonna go check that movie out? What's up with Serena, man?
That was kind of frightening to me.
But not totally unexpected if you paid attention. That's all.
It's not really. It's not.
Hey, yeah. Well, check this out, man. We're gonna talk about Serena later and the ear doctor, but we got another segment about to come on right about now.
No doubt, I'm out of here.
No doubt. I think CBS and Dr. Layla, it's about their time to shine. Where they at?
All right.
RemiX Morning Show.
You're muted.
I know better than that. What up, y'all? Welcome to the Talk Black on this good Tuesday morning. I'm Dr. CBS here with my girl, Dr. Layla Brown, and a very special guest where we talk back about all things Black.
What's up, y'all? So today we're going to continue the ongoing discussions that we've been having about what's happening in Palestine by having a conversation about Black-Palestinian solidarity. And I'm very excited because our guest today is family. We have known each other since before either of us were born because my brother Ajamu's grandparents and my parents have worked together for many, many years. But before we get into that segment, let's get into this plan of the day. So I don't know if you all know, but Dr. CBS's birthday is coming up this very week. And so because of this, she asked me to feature one of her favorite plants in my house, which is this lovely little, it's wet, sorry. This lovely little specimen here, which is a Stromanthe Trio Star or Tri-Star, because it has three colors. You can see it, the green, the little red, and the white. So this plant is in the prayer plant family, which I think is really cool because at night these leaves fold up, and in the daytime they flap back down. Other prayer plants are the caletheas, but those heifers are difficult. This is not quite as difficult as the caletheas, so I like this one a bit more. So this is our plant of the day, and join me in wishing my sis, my friend, and my bestie early birthday. And then we'll get on into this segment. Early happy
And these
birthday.
are my birthday nails, y'all. We out here. Thank you. Okay, so let me introduce this young phenom we have with us here today. We got none other than Ajamu Amiri Dillahunt, who is a PhD student in the Department of History at Michigan State University. He is a member of the Black Workers for Justice and a board member with the Interreligious Foundation of Community Organizations. He is also a former intern with the SNCC Digital Gateway Project at Duke University. In May of 2019, Ajamu graduated from North Carolina Central University with a BA in History and a BA in Political Science. Ajamu also participated in the historic Demilitarized Durham to Palestine Coalition. So welcome, Ajamu.
Thank you. Glad to be here with this excellent team. Dr. Brown, Dr. CBS, the legends. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. So to start, Ajamu, can you give us an overview of all that's going on right now in East Jerusalem, not least the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, and why Africans in the U.S. and abroad should be paying attention to this very serious situation?
Yeah, for sure. So what's going on in East Jerusalem is Palestinians are being evicted from their homes by Zionist settlers. But to really understand that, I think one must understand that this is a part of a larger project of ethnic cleansing, settler colonialism, and genocide, apartheid, of occupation. And in addition to what's going on in East Jerusalem, there's been a bombing of Gaza. There's been attacks during Ramadan of a mosque. And most important, one thing that we have to understand about what's going on in East Jerusalem and Palestine in general is that Palestinians are fighting back and demanding an end to occupation like they've done for decades, since 1948, when the state of Israel was declared or was founded. And so the reason that Africans in the U.S. Should be concerned about this is because one, we have a long tradition of opposing all forms of colonialism and imperialism, and so we're obligated on that front. And on the second front, because our tax dollars are paying, the U.S. pays billions of dollars of our tax dollars to make the occupation and the genocide of Palestinians possible. And so in addition to that $3 billion, though, what we have to understand is that other U.S. Departments or agencies also give roughly $2 to $3 billion in terms of military equipment and aid and all of those things. So the weapons being used in Palestine, the tear gas being used, all that has the backing of the U.S. So one, we're obligated on that front too. And then there's the question for Africans in the U.S. of police exchanges, which there's been a growing movement to end exchanges between police departments in the U.S. And exchanges with the Israeli occupying forces, whether it be the police or the military. And so they're exchanging these tactics to continue to brutalize and terrorize both Africans in the U.S. and Palestinians, in Palestine, and of course, Afro-Palestinians. And then there's also a regional question. The reason that the U.S. is supporting Israel is to continue its imperialist interests in the Middle East, but also on the continent of Africa. So Africans on the continent, of course, must be concerned about what is taking place in Palestine because it's contributing to the ongoing, colonization, neo-colonial aspects of our ancestral homeland.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
So let's just kind of take it back a little bit, right? So this week also, May 15th commemorates the Nakba. And I was going to ask you to give us a little bit more context about what the Nakba represents. And again, why we as Black radicals or revolutionaries should continue to acknowledge and commemorate this particular, I don't know, I feel like event is not enough.
Calamity, catastrophe.
Catastrophe, yes.
Yeah. So the Nakba, is a catastrophe in 1948 when the state of Israel was declared, and it's noted that on May 15th, 750,000 Palestinians were removed from their homeland or removed from their land, and that's what at the time I believe 60% of the population, and so May 15th commemorates that, and it's also said that as part of the Nakba, there were 33 massacres and over 531 Palestinian towns were destroyed. And so it's a prime example of settler colonialism, but also I think, Zionism, as it's been defined by so many, is a part of European colonialism that, colonized the continent of Africa. And so, the British mandate and the British opened up, many say, opened up Palestine for Zionist expansion. And so, like I mentioned earlier, it's critical for Africans to support this, revolutionaries to support this, because of how close to home it is to our struggle. And then just a long tradition of Black and Palestinian solidarity. And I think we're in a unique position where we have the potential to take that solidarity to the next phase. 2014 represented a new era, but in my estimation, 2021 represents a new era too. And so we must, build upon it and not, remain stagnant in how we're relating to each other's struggles.
So we've been speaking a little bit about, Black Palestinian solidarity as if Blackness and Palestinians are mutually exclusive. And so I just wondered, are there Black Palestinians? And if so, how do they fit into all this? And why don't we necessarily tend to see them represented?
Yeah, there's definitely Black Palestinians, also known as Afro-Palestinians, and actually some in Jerusalem, the old city. I had an opportunity to go to Palestine in 2018. And unfortunately, as part of my delegation, I didn't get to engage in conversation with any Afro-Palestinian comrades. But, Afro-Palestinians have been, a key part of the Palestinian fight back. If you look at the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, there was active involvement of Afro-Palestinians in that. And then there's a host of other examples taking place. But definitely the question of Palestine is a diasporic question for the African diaspora. And, we should move on that front and move accordingly with that.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. So, speaking of Black Palestinian solidarity, what a lot of people who know me closely, but others might not know, is that I was actually named after two Palestinian women. I was named after Leila Khaled and Dalal Mughrabi, who were members respectively of the Palestinian National Liberation Front and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Cool fact about Leila Khaled is that she's one of the, she's the first woman to hijack a plane, right? In the name of her cause. But beyond that, I wanted to ask another question. So, I have a number of friends who are Black Muslims in the US and elsewhere in the world. And I've been having this conversation with a few different people recently, one of whom was my mentor's son, who will actually be on the show later this week. Later this month. And then another friend who's actually, he's from the UK, but he's in Egypt right now. But the question that they asked me and that I want to get your perspective on, Ajamu, is this relationship between Black Muslims, Black practicing Muslims, and the sort of broader Palestinian community. So obviously, you just said that there are Afro-Palestinians, there are Black Palestinians. But there continues, like there is everywhere in the world, this kind of continuation of a particular brand of anti-Blackness, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to hear a little bit more from you about how we navigate solidarity with Palestine and understanding our opposition to apartheid states in light of this kind of continued anti-Blackness.
Yeah, that's an important question, and the power structure, and even prior to that, there's many contradictions in what our solidarity looks like. And earlier when I mentioned taking Black and Palestinian solidarity to the next phase, in a new era, it's kind of dealing with those contradictions. And I've somewhat, not somewhat, I've been inspired by the Palestinian youth movement. Because they've been, eager to take on that question of, what anti-Blackness looks like within our community and building relationships. I mean, in terms of organization, around cultural stuff, all these different elements of dealing with anti-Blackness that may exist within their community. So, I think, that comrades are asking questions about it. I think people have made assessments, but now I think it's important that we engage, in the practice of trying to deal with it for the sake of the liberation for all oppressed people, and for whether Palestine and the U.S. we have to deal with it. So I think there's a growing trend of trying to move in the direction of dealing with anti-Blackness within that population, within this effort. So I'm optimistic. It's going to take a fight. It's going to be a struggle, but it's happening. It's taking place.
Absolutely. I think that's the same way I've attempted to navigate it, in the same way that within our own communities, Black communities in the U.S., people exhibit rampant forms of anti-Blackness, but that doesn't necessarily necessitate that we move away from what our principles are, right?
Right.
Principally against settler colonialism, occupation, the brutality and the violence of the Zionist state, then that we have to maintain that position regardless of the sort of contradictions of the people, right? That critiques are larger than individual sort of we know it's beyond individual, but they're larger than these sort of interactions, right?
Yeah, and we can't fall into the pessimism, right? That says because anti-Blackness exists, that there is no basis for solidarity. That is oppish. And we cannot fall into that trap, because despite all of the contradictions, we need to work through the contradictions, right? And work to eradicate them, as opposed to fold like lawn chairs because they exist and eschew solidarity altogether. But I did want you to speak a little bit more about this Black Palestinian solidarity, because we know throughout history there have been sort of upsurges in these linkages. So for example, during Black Power, with like organizations like the Black Panther Party and RAM getting together with the PLO. And then also during the Ferguson moment, there was a renewed connection between Black struggle and Palestinian struggle. And so what does solidarity look like? What does it mean to be in solidarity in sort of, I guess, more lofty, but also more concrete ways?
Yeah, I think this in this current moment, I think solidarity can look like a number of different things. But I really think the question of these police exchanges is really a way to build solidarity and a connection with the masses to engage with the question of Palestine. And also there's a Palestinian diaspora and there's a lot of Palestinians within the U.S. too who have been supporting the struggle against police, whether it be abolition or whether it be community control. There's been a strong effort on those fronts, and so I think solidarity looks like intentionally building these relationships around these exchanges and raising the consciousness of our people, because while there's been a strong push and more energy around the question of Palestine, and Black freedom within the U.S., there still remains a large gap in terms of being in the consciousness, being a topic of discussion amongst the masses. And then I think it is going to require a sacrifice. I'm optimistic that historically Black colleges are in a unique position to not the administrative aspect. I mean, the students and faculty are in a unique position to build this solidarity in new and profound ways. My time at NCCU, my understanding of Palestine increased. I was pushed to understand Palestine as part of a larger question. I was pushed to ask different questions by faculty members, and I was encouraged to speak out against it. And I was encouraged to talk with my peers about it. And so that really has me optimistic about what it can look like. And then especially in the South, I mean, there's a regional aspect within the Southern United States. I think when Africans, begin to, bring forward the international character and the question of Palestine to the masses, it'll look good. And I'm also optimistic, that UE 150, which is North Carolina workers organization as part of the larger UE, was in support of the demilitarized during the Palestine campaign. And so a lot of public sector workers, city workers, are talking about the question of Palestine. So I think it's a new phase. New things need to be hashed out, but we really got to start building organizationally. Really hashing out these contradictions like we mentioned earlier. But I'm optimistic, and I think when we build organization, we see new forms of solidarity. And I also think there's a new wave of understanding Black and Palestinian solidarity existing, beyond the 60s and 70s. I think people looking to the 80s, the 90s, and 20s. And so when scholarship is beginning to emerge about that period, we're also beginning to see new ways or continued ways of Black people supporting Palestine and Palestinians supporting, African struggle within the U.S. and in other parts of the world.
I think that's so important because, regardless of the ways in which we know the world exists, the ways in which, yes, we know the world exists.
I'm in defense of the ways in which. I can talk about that on my show, but anyway.
Okay. I think it's important to note that anybody who really understands themselves to be a true revolutionary must deep down actually be an optimist, right? And that's not an optimist in the sort of, floating through the world, unaware of things kind of way, right? But in order for us to believe that things can somehow be different, right, and in order for us to work towards that, we have to believe those things, right? And
Fidel said that. Fidel said revolutionaries are always optimistic.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Absolutely. And as a fellow Eagle, I am always in support of my HBCUs, but I also think that, across the sort of issues in terms of intellectual and academic freedom, we know everything but Palestine is the truth, right?
Yeah.
So that SNCC's support for Palestine under Kwame Ture, then Stokely Carmichael, was actually what got it defunded, right? And so we also have to think about the ways in which our schools, these other institutions, are complicit with maintaining this Zionist project, right? And that's something that we have to continue to fight because we can be radical in a number of ways, but when we come and speak out against the sort of Zionist occupation of Palestine, that's when most of us get shut down, right?
Yeah.
And the Zionists are listen, as you were saying that there's a push now to support Palestine at HBCUs, there's a very strong Zionist presence as well that's linked through the corporate funding, that's linked through the lobbies. And so we also have to be very, very mindful that, Amiri Stoudemire had his goofy ass in Israel doing whatever he was doing. And so there is
scholars too.
Okay.
So he want to be all up in Elizabeth City acting like he done found God or something.
All up in the city.
Right.
But it
all up in the video.
Right. His father, was a part of the wave of SNCC that supported Palestine. So I'm asking questions. I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
What's going on?
Well, Adama, we thank you so much for being here today. And I am sure, because Palestine has been an ongoing conflict in all of our lives, that we will continue this conversation. But we want to thank you for being here today. Thanks for tuning in to the Talk Black. Catch us next week, same black time, same black place.
Peace.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring them on for the banter part. What happened to that?
I don't know what happened to that. There they go. That was dope. That was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
it's
very
only
dope.
on the remix where you hear a shout out for the first woman, and then that shout out is the first woman who ever hijacked a plane.
Those are the first.
That's the first
my favorite thing to tell my students all the time. They always be like,
definitely shout out to Layla Khaled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I loved all the subtextual, maybe not so subtextual academic hate out there too. That was just so wonderful. Well done. Well done.
Well, definitely good episode.
Sharice's face. I mean, I think that there are other schools of thought that let us know that this shit got to get torn down. And so in that particular school of thought, I think that is one of the few things that it has to offer. And I think that there are others that offer more than that. So.
There was something interesting in the
fair
chat.
Enough.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, there was just an interesting comment in the chat that was talking about reciprocity and solidarity, that often it seems like it's one-sided, right? Africans in solidarity with everybody, right? And so I think that was an important point, that, the reciprocity is very, very important. And I think we have been seeing it with people supporting Black Lives Matter and different uprisings that are happening. But I do think reciprocity is very important. And so I'm just sort of thinking about what that looks like in the case of Black-Palestinian relations.
Right.
And what reciprocity has been there for, obviously you guys mentioned the 60s and so forth, but even, during my time of organizing at a younger age, there's been
1920s.
That wasn't necessary.
Whoa, shots fired. Block out.
Happy birthday to you.
We didn't get to finish that conversation, but I do think it's important that maybe we'll do at a later point. We when the AAPRPGC did our African Women's Emancipation Day, we had a number of women from Kenya in the audience, and one of the things that they said to us, because we had a Palestinian woman on the program, she was a representative of a political prisoners organization, Samuel Doon, and one of the things the Kenyan women said, she was like, "Who is that white woman on the panel?" And I think for us in the U.S., we mostly see white passing Palestinians, but their argument was that all the Palestinians they knew were Black Africans, right? And so I think that that's something that we owe it to ourselves to do more work into, to figure out what those connections are, and also why we don't see it here.
I think that comes with organizing as a whole, because of the fact that when you're out in these streets and when you're traveling, you're going to run into all kinds of comrades and allies from across the globe of all different hues. You have folks who are quote unquote narrow nationalists that come along and say, well, this cat's not Black, or their mother's white, and all this other bullshit. The reality is, once you out there on the ground, so you can't find certain things in on the internet. You can't find them in the study halls. You have to be out there in the mix in order to really feel the vibration and the pulse of the people, and to get an understanding.
Out there in the remix, Kalanji.
On the real.
Absolutely. That's how I was named after Layla Khaled, because my father, when he was in school at Shaw, was an honorary member of the Palestinian Students Association. And so when I was born, my parents' Palestinian friends gave them those names.
And I was going to quickly say, so when we were out in New York battling against Amadou Diallo, police brutality, Sean Bell, Palestinian organizations and activists and organizers, Al-Alda, the sister who's going to be on tomorrow, Lamise Deek, who's an attorney, organizer, several other folks I know, Sahir, Hamid from back in the day. Those folks were active, not only in supporting, obviously, what's happening in Palestine, but understanding the linkages between their struggle and our struggle here, and how they needed support in order to get support, and how we needed support to get support. That was a mutual bond that folks shared. And so when I hear people sometimes say things like that, it's I think it's something I've heard before. Folks say is like, well, have you been out there? Have you been doing that organizing to make those community connections, and seeing that there are folks on the ground who are in solidarity, because they know that the struggles are the same against white supremacy and capitalism, which affects us both domestically and internationally.
and not as allies, but as comrades, because of the fact that there's a difference between an ally and a comrade. You know what I'm saying? We've been in situations where we actually got physical with brothers and sisters from all types of different walks of life that was swinging on the police before we did. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on, don't grab him. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, when I see a lot of these quote unquote activists, or I don't even not even newer activists, because in fact, I see a lot of old motherfuckers talking crazy. You understand what I'm saying? When you haven't been there, like my man Balagoon say, if you haven't seen something that doesn't exist, if you don't know it's out there, then it doesn't exist in your mind. You understand what I'm saying? So the first thing you'll say is, where were the Asians when this happened? Where was your black ass when it was going down? Because I didn't see you.
Getting your raincoat.
Exactly. On Twitter. You know what I'm saying? I ain't the Twitter, I'm the hitter, motherfucker. That's how we do it. Anyway, good show though. Good episode.
Thanks for having us today.
Right on.
Y'all.
Of course. And thanks for the plant update too. I love that part.
Yes, get some daffodils.
Yeah. That wasn't born in the 1920s, just in case anybody thought
I
it was a
do
serious
plants,
comment.
not flowers.
1936. Please. Kamal was born 1936.
We call him Jesse Owens.
Jesse no wins.
Is their segment over? Can we go on?
I'm sorry. Let us go. Anyway, good stuff. We'll see y'all next week.
Yes, indeed.
All right, it's the men's crew.
Luke Men's crew. Everybody else
I know they're gonna be back a little bit later.
Oh man, Luke Mons had a football game or what?
They had a football game. They were
good.
They blocking and tackling for the revolution.
All right. Well, I think it's about time to should we bring the head doctor in yet, or should we pause for a minute? I don't think the head doctor ready.
Bring him in. Bring him on in. Yeah, he's out there getting his sunlight, getting his Sundays.
Sunlight, moonlight. Bring it on the boogie.
Hey, that was that joint right there. Hey, I'm back on here. We're gonna give an artist spotlight to somebody that's in the chat room all the time, a supporter of Black Power Media. Like I said, you send me your track, and if it's hot, I play it. So we're gonna give a spotlight to one of our peoples.
Okay. Right on. Black Power Media, the remix.
All right, everybody. Back to Black Power Media, the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And like I said, I like to give a spotlight to people that drop some good music. And so I wanted to put a spotlight on the brother that goes by the name of Al Unique. That's right, Al Unique. So Al Unique is a brother that is from, actually he's a native of Jersey. He's a Florida-bred, Brooklyn-based MC and producer. And he says he's dedicated to the organization of Pan-African and Black liberation. So I was like, no doubt. Let's hear what you got. So this is a song he got, Fulton Express. Check it out.
I was chopping up with this old GD up there. And he dropped the duo.
Choose a side, pick a team, get free and get your green. On my side, my mission seems something like a simple dream. Take an L, fuck that. Before that, I be pissing clean. Clears in and histamine. What's the cost of getting seen? Drama, bet you missing me. Run like you shitting green. True stings, Listerine. Roll with the difference. You sit between, fighting for my freedom, or I'm getting cream. Lick the green, boy said, black man, live your dream. Get yours by different means, any means. Plenty things beyond reach. Yo. And so I reach for the moon, cherry pick the stars. 1 million, 2 million, shit, I'm living large. But none of that resolves all the hitting stars. Know the life to getting paper and my nog getting slobbed. Scheming on my present while my future's getting barred. For the sins of my father, I am not absolved. I evolved, couldn't solve all this past since it's passing. Now we things we built for, all the things we killed for, all the things we live for. Family, unity, love flows fluidly, foolishly. We often die for lunacy, proving we was a man, brother man. But if you move a bunch of brands, stack the cash and rubber bands, invested in another plan to help the hood to understand and keep it with the people. You can't nobody beat you. The beast would like to eat you.
All right, so big up to Al Unique. Once again, like I said, If you got some dope music, please make sure y'all send it in because, yo, if it's hot, I'm going to give it some burn. So that's what it is. I'm out. Let's get back to the Remix Morning Show.
Yo, ear doctor.
What up?
I know you are the ear doctor, but I got a pretty good ear too.
Okay.
And that Al Unique joint features a guitar riff. This should be some. I should get a prize for this joint.
Okay.
Give one out because that guitar riff, only real soul music lovers will know, and with a good ear. That's from Sweet Sticky Thing, the Ohio Players.
Oh, look at you.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that joint, because that's one of my favorite tracks of all time. And I heard that. I know exactly where that was from. At first, I thought it was Chuck Brown, but then I said, no, that's not Chuck. That's the Ohio Players. So shout out to the Ohio Players. Shout out to Al Unique. And I know what he did, by the way. He said he was from Florida, then Brooklyn, but had to throw that jersey in there to get you to play his track.
Hey, it worked.
That's what it was.
But now the track was dope. And like I said, if y'all got any music, make sure y'all send it to eardoctormusic.1@gmail.com. If it's dope, I'll give it some burn. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
Well, I'm out of here. Catch y'all later.
Peace here.
Peace. No doubt. That was good. You know what I'm saying? I see Jared went and dust off the 8-track. You know what I'm saying? So he could call it out, let it be known what it do.
Let it be
Out
known.
in these parts. You know what I'm saying? It's a good show thus
Section
far.
8 suburbs.
Section 8 suburbs in the building. You know what I mean?
Government cheese got around, son. That government cheese got around.
Hey, let me ask y'all something, man.
Tree-lined streets.
Hey, a lot of these folks on here are young and whatnot. Do y'all remember the food stamp coins back in the day?
Coins?
They had
paper money. I remember we had the paper money.
They had the paper money. But for a short while, it must have been like 76 or 77 or something.
There was a coin.
They had food stamp coins.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh.
Anybody in the chat room, if you remember that, you know what I mean, shout it out, whatever.
You got to Google a picture of that. I do remember that, actually.
Yeah,
I remember the coin.
They did. And then they had the books and whatnot, the booklets and whatnot.
Yeah, the booklets, because they came at like about $86 per booklet.
Yeah,
and you could sell. Yeah, you could sell them on like about for $75 real cash or $60 real cash.
Look,
you could sell them.
Yeah.
Look, the good Google came through. Look.
What y'all got?
Okay.
Well, actually, this is a Cosia. I don't even use Google for a search engine. I'm on a
Cosia.
Cosia.
There you
See?
go. Food stamp coins.
Food stamp credit. Yep.
I don't remember the silver ones. I'm talking about the colorful ones and whatnot. They was
you had the colorful? Okay.
Yeah, the plastic ones and whatnot.
They got the little red, black, and green up in there.
This is the one I
say something.
You remember that one?
Up. This is the one. This is the one that's in my mind for some reason. Something like
you
this.
Born in the 30s, so that's different. You know, they look like the first one they made.
Hey, black don't crack, beige don't fade.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I'm out beiged up in here today.
Yo, bring up the money. Bring up the funny money. Can you find that reul fast? I'm reminiscing now with the brown. They had a little green on the side.
Man. You talking about Monopoly, brother? What you talking about?
No, I'm talking about the food stamp money. See, don't be fronting like you ain't had that.
Oh, you talking the bills?
You talking
the bills? Hey, listen, I was buying it. You know what I'm saying? I knew some fiends that was selling them joints. Like, yo, I give you $350 worth for $100, and I'm like, get here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah, man.
You talk about these?
There you go.
Yeah,
That's it. That's right. Now you're bringing back memories.
Yeah.
Is this,
except for that Obama one. I don't remember that one.
I don't think
is that real?
No, that's not real. That's a picking cotton money right there. that's cotton picking money right there.
They're getting uproar. The black bourgeoisie would not allow that. Not on Obama.
That's going too far.
They'd be like,
you can't do that to Obama. Mm-hmm. Anyway, shout out to all those who was constipated for 2 weeks straight off of one hard ass piece of cheese toast. Mm-hmm. They never melted, by the way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but anyway, moving right along. I know some of y'all are like, why they talk about food stamps and food coins and cheese? Because we can. It's the remix. Duh.
Little
Anyway,
history, you know what I'm
everything
saying?
is
These
all
days they
good
just got a
now.
little card. They don't remember what that paper money used to be like.
then I got bougie all of a sudden. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, moving right along. We have a homegirl, Kim Brown. Shout out to Kim Brown. Burn it down, Kim Brown.
Burn it down.
You know what I mean? Who's always burning it down. She'll be joining us every Tuesday and Wednesday on the RemiX Morning Show. You know what I mean? Excuse me, every Wednesday.
I thought it was Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Don't worry
today's
about it.
Wednesday.
She's going to be with us
Yeah.
today.
She gonna be with us in spirit?
Well, indirectly.
Okay.
And in spirit. Oh, you know, that's fine too.
No doubt. The spirit of Kim Brown, not to be confused with John Brown. Anyway,
whose birthday just passed, by the way.
True.
Shout out to John Brown. I got it's some other folks that work with John Brown that helped to make him John Brown. So I appreciate those folks or whatever. But we'll talk about that at a later date. But we have a video from Kim Brown.
Right on.
And right about now, we're gonna make an effort. It's gonna be my first time trying to share a video. So if it don't come out right, we're gonna blame Dr. Jared Paul. Anyway, we're gonna go to Burn It Down, Kim Brown, real quick.
Get ready for some technical difficulties, y'all.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's how we do around here. It's the remix. Right about now.
Kim Brown, and I'd like to welcome you to a feature that we are doing on Black Power Media. It's called Rise of the Regular Person, where we sit down and have a conversation with a regular Black person who is out here strengthening community needs or addressing community needs, trying to build political power for the Black people, and out here fostering movements. Regular Black people out here doing extraordinary things. And today's first guest is the mayor of Greenbelt, Maryland. His name is Colin Bird. And Mayor Bird made some waves early in April at the opening of a mass vaccination site run by FEMA that was giving out COVID-19 vaccinations, where at the ceremony, issues. And I'd like to thank you, Mayor Bird, for making some time for us to get to know you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Ms. Brown. Thank you so much again for having me. Keep on burning it down.
Thank you very much. And listen, we appreciate everybody checking this out. This is Rise of the Regular Person. You can look forward to this every single week where we'll be talking to somebody else new, Black, from somewhere across the country, even across the globe, people who are really making like a for real actual difference in their community. So thank you so much for checking this out. I'm Kim Brown from Black Power Media.
What happened? We got the crying Van Jones face. What happened?
We got the crying Van Jones face. I don't know. I thought the video was 17 minutes. I don't know what just happened. But anyway.
She said what's up and then goodbye. What happened to the video?
I mean it was fun while it lasted. So, you know, thank you, Kim Brown. Thank you, Kim Brown.
Straight up, I can't. Somebody gonna have to take over. I can't.
No, wait a minute. What happened? I went for a bathroom break. I was making my breakfast. Thought I had 17 minutes in between. I come back, I hear laughter. What happened?
I thought so. Van Jones got sad. But anyway, now back to you, Jay.
Please don't show Van Jones again. I can't take it. I'm literally going to pull a muscle.
Hey, yo, man. I don't know who came up with that Van Jones joint. Was that the Luke
That
Miles
joint is
one?
too funny, man.
Yo, I love to see Van crying and whatnot, man.
So I guess at another point in near soon, we're going to have that segment uploaded properly so that we can share it, right?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, it was shared.
I don't know what happened. Oh my!
I don't either. It was like she said, "Hello, thank you." And good
She said, and he said that was great. I was like, what? I said, did I go through a time warp?
We'll try that all over again.
I thought it was me. I'm like, man, that was a quick interview. Kamal went to the bathroom. I was thinking about going to the bathroom, but I saw her say thank you and good night. Now back to you.
I had to turn off my eggs. I had my eggs boiled. I was like, oh, let me turn my. What's? I hear voices. I hear voices.
The brother said he turned off his eggs. Okay, so moving right along. We wasn't ready for that.
Listen, no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, thanking the viewers. What was you saying, my man?
Well, really, because in all seriousness, if we have to vamp here for a second, I'm open to a number of things, including I would want to have followed up on something we mentioned earlier about your last episode of Renegade Culture. Okay. To talk, for those who may not have seen it or whatever, or even just to follow up for those of us who did. To talk a little bit about what went on and the importance of Willie Ricks, Mukasa Willie Ricks, yes. And to somewhat of to unfortunately like a not forgotten maybe but less emphasized figure in relationship to the history of Black Power, and someone who's clearly still here and still swinging. So I would have, if we got a couple minutes, that was at least one thing I would think, we could come back to for a second and ask you all to maybe summarize a little bit, talk a little bit even about how that came to be, how that interview came to be.
Yeah. Well, when I first came to Atlanta, I reached out to a number of people actually before I came to Atlanta. I came to Atlanta in 2004. I met Mukasa up at UConn. In Connecticut, of course, him and Kathleen Cleaver were together speaking, and I actually opened up. This was in 2000. And, so when I came to Atlanta, I reached out to him. I was like, hey, man, I'm here. We have this thing we want to do called Poets for Political Prisoners. He's like, I'm at your service, African. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he came out, and literally for months, we were organizing on different levels as far as him with FTP, doing our Feed the People program, coming out to whatever rallies and protests and so on and so forth. Of course, we had already knew who he was. So I was like, man, this is real cool, because during that particular period, we had all kinds of OGs that was running with us. We had Baba OJ from Arrested Development, and a couple other folks. But fast forwarding, I ran into him a couple weeks back. And I was like, man, I want to definitely bring you on the show. His wife actually watches the show on a regular. So every time I see her, she's like, hey, when does the show come on? Because of the fact that, I keep missing when it drops off. But, so we decided to bring him on. And it was he was like, man, he was excited about coming on. And I think that for us, it was a dope experience, because even though, like organizing with different folks, organizing with Daruba, so on and so forth, you always get a different story and you always get a different perspective. You know what I mean? And I hadn't been around them for a while. So I think that for Kamal, the Ear Doctor, Server, and Jai, and myself, I think it was an experience because of the fact that he took us back and reminded us what organizing was about from a grassroots level, organizing in the Deep South, because I think that we often get cocky with our new brand of organizing, because we didn't have to go into the dirt roads in Mississippi or Alabama, and we didn't have to face the water hoses, or we didn't have to say yes sir and yes ma'am, or we didn't have to allow white folks to put their hands on us and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So we kind of get cocky and thinking that we can call ourselves bullshit like the Prince of Pan-Africanism and all kinds of other nonsense because we haven't experienced anything. But I think that it was definitely a revitalizing moment for us. What do you say, Kamal?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think people underappreciate the grassroots organizing history of SNCC, right? Because I think even, those of us now at this age, when we look back of organizations that we like to hold up, it's usually the Panthers who have sort of the more overt radicalism. But we forget like that groundwork, like you were saying, of organized in all different facets of the Black experience, everything from voting rights, civic engagement, to grassroots organizing, to political power building, to creating different organizations and institutions, to self-defense. SNCC was there in spite of the name of Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The SNCC was there in all facets. I think Brother Mukasa brought out that militancy of SNCC that, again, people, because the mainstream media plays up the John Lewis era of SNCC, and they play up folks getting beat over their heads as they're doing the bus the bus riding and the bus boycotts and all that kind of stuff. So it sounds to me like obviously, as we already know, there's an image that wants to be portrayed of what the Black Power, civil rights, the Black liberation movement is, and that's one of sort of nonviolence, slowly but surely allowing white folks to get their aggression out on us taking it and hoping that we're going to overcome. And I think Brother Mukasa represents the polar opposite of not of the sort of understanding of what the history was. And so for him to come out and again to be alive, to be coherent, to be still talking about that kind of work, I think is exciting. And then the thing that Jared brought up that I think we all have to come to context through is that brother potentially doesn't get the accolades, he does not get the accolades that he so richly deserves, not just obviously from big institutions that can give off resources and money, but from our very movement. Probably isolates, forgets, doesn't think about the very person who led the call for Black Power that became the central organizing tenet at one point in our organizing history. And so for us as a movement, again, particularly again with this latest article that came out around the Panthers, around the actual Panthers being forgotten while people are upholding the image of the Panthers, that same thing could be said about Mukasa, around people upholding the idea of all the militancy, but not the actual militants. And so they struggle, they lead their day-to-day lives, trying to struggle. And there's something that, I'm going to give a brief announcement that we're going to try to do something about on Malcolm's birthday, make a special announcement about it. But the fact that these folks have struggled for so long without necessarily the recognition and the resources they need to get on with their day-to-day lives, and even to give their story out, is something that we all have to do better on. So, yeah.
I want to point out something that we didn't mention in the interview. Some years ago, I would say probably around 2007, 2008, Mukasa was attacked by the Morehouse police because he was out there, actually Morehouse College here in Atlanta. He was out there organizing and protesting, and the police tried to move him, and they actually dislocated both of his shoulders during that particular time. And I'm saying that because of the fact that, our OGs and our elders are often left for the wolves. You understand what I'm saying? You had that particular situation where Morehouse, a Black college, a Black university, you know what I'm saying? Where the dean knew the history of Mukasa, had the audacity to attack one of our elders, just as the police attacked Dhoruba here in Atlanta, moving into his own home. And then, of course, these other clowns, the new Black Panther Party. So, which of course, we were there for that particular situation. I'm pointing this out because of the fact that one of the combos we had behind scenes with, I believe it was Jared, Kamau, and myself, just talking about why a lot of our elders aren't revered, why they aren't put up in a certain pedestal, is because of the fact that we, and I'm talking about us, the freedom fighters, we haven't done a great job at the safeguarding and protection of our OGs. You know what I'm saying? There's no community of people that allow their elders to be attacked without there being a response. And I'm saying that because of the fact that just as these assaults, also financial situations, so on and so forth. So I think that one of the things that Kamal's talking about on May 19th will be somewhat of a survival program or solution to some of these ills, because of the fact that if we won't safeguard and protect our OGs, our stories will never be told. And they'll constantly go to some of these other individuals to tell the history of hip hop or the history of the movement. You know what I mean? So, that's our responsibility. Shout out to my brother Zumbi, who is in the chat right now, who is a comrade and a seasoned organizer who worked with us alongside Mukasa. So I wanted to point that out real quick.
Right on.
Yeah.
Appreciate all of that. Looking forward to this May 19th announcement too.
Yes, indeed.
We might do it on a mix what I like, you know what I'm saying? So just be ready for that.
Yeah, I don't know if we should do that. this beige on beige love is getting out of hand right now. I suggest we do it on Riot Starter TV. I'm just saying, if you're going to start a rebellion, come to the Riot Starter. That's just
I like that. People fighting for the rights. Fight for the rights.
Well, Malcolm was more on our time, more on our team. So,
damn.
As they pointed out, as Jim Brown was said to have pointed out in One Night in Miami.
Oh no, I think you meant you talking about Detroit Red or Malcolm.
Look, man, it's all good. All jokes aside, but the point is, I Mix What I Like and Riot Starter are all on Black Power Media. So I think we are representing the full circle of blackness.
No doubt, man. And shout out to the whole concept of the remix. You know what I'm saying? Renegade culture and I Mix What I Like. You know what I mean? I'm gonna say that one time. So when we do these what did they call them? The
trivias.
The trivias. I just gave you a quick nugget for later on, because we will be doing the trivia sometime in the near future. And I just gave you the answer to it gave you a context clue to something. But anyway, you're watching the Remix Morning Show, and we definitely appreciate you all checking in. Right now it says we're up to 166 people live. Our goal for this week is to hit 200 live. So as my one of my OGs used to say, help us stay here. Help me stay here. Help me stay here. You know what I mean? Help us stay here. If you like the remix, go ahead and push it for us, because of the fact that you are our primary marketing promotion team. I don't think we need to hire a marketing promotion team. I don't think that we need folks to go ahead and help us to get numbers when we have an audience like yourself. And you and I, and we know that there's nothing on the internet that's like on the morning show circuit, like the Remix Morning Show. I mean, it's just not happening. I don't care what you say. And that's not to disrespect or disregard anybody else's shit. I'm just saying you have seasoned freedom fighters, you have scholars, you have professors, you have doctors, you have attorneys. I think that it's a dope concept. You know what I mean? So make sure that you continue to support our efforts if you want to see this type of thing going on, because we'd like to see this happen, till the sun don't shine no more.
Yeah. And I'll very quickly say, we're hosted here on YouTube with our politics. We don't know how long we're going to be on YouTube. So the support you give now will help us survive later on. Because when we're talking about things like not only just Israel and Zionism, those are key. Those are key things for when they try to kick people off and stuff like that. We're talking about American imperialism. We're talking about white supremacy. We're talking about Black liberation. And we're not talking about strictly just voting or anything like that. We're talking about what we got to do as a people to gain power. Obviously, we mix in some humor sometimes around it, but understand that we're coming with some real clear politics, not only around the work that we've been doing, but the work that other folks are doing in our community and in solidarity communities that we work with. So we need the support that you give us so that we can keep this going past the time that YouTube will let us shine on their particular station. So we can set up our own stuff. And we don't have to worry about somebody else trying to come after us and taking our stuff off. So the support you give now will save us in the future. And again, allow us to expand our apparatus, expand our coverage of events and activities that are happening around the issue of Black power, around the issue of anti-imperialism, around the issue of solidarity, all that kind of stuff, around the issues of Pan-Africanism, all that kind of stuff. that we want to cover, that is here for us to cover, we can do with your support. And so we want to thank everybody in terms of the audience and everybody who's spreading the word to let folks know about what's happening here on Black Power Media.
No doubt. And we're supposed to have another segment, but really looking at the clock, we have less than 4 minutes. So I think we could wrap for a few minutes and just say, like, man, also let us know what you think about the show. Leave a comment. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that, we're new to this. We're going on our 4th week this week. You know what I mean? And, we've been learning as we've been going along. I think we've been doing a great job. We have an awesome team. Shout out to the Ear Doctor for all of his work. Shout out to May on the production behind the scene. Shout out to all the hosts. You know what I mean? Where else can you get a squad as dope as this? You got everybody from Dr. Yele to Dr. CBS and Dr. Layla Brown and Dr. Jared Ball. Too many damn doctors. However, you know what I'm saying? Kamal Franklin and the Luke Mons and Kim Brown and me, of course.
The Black Myths podcast crew.
Yes. Sundiata.
I mean, Real Talk with Dr. Sundiata Chajua.
And we have more coming. You know what I mean? But so again, we need that support. We don't want to sound like some of these other characters, but I don't know about you, but there's some podcasts that I used to watch. You know what I'm saying? But they fell off. You understand what I'm saying? There's some news channels that I used to watch, but they're not going to hit hard, like Kamal said, with representing us. You understand what I'm saying? It's unfortunately we got to check out some of these white boys who's out there talking about our liberation, but because of the fact that we haven't prepared properly. You know what I'm saying? But now this is what we're doing right now with BPM. You know what I mean? Taking it to another level. And so we appreciate y'all support and stick with us. And this is the ground floor right here. 20 years from now, you're gonna be like, yo, I used to be in the chat room talking shit with these guys. You know what I mean? Some of y'all do be talking shit, and I don't know who y'all think y'all talking to.
And y'all keep talking shit. Y'all keep talking shit. We need as many voices, as many opinions, as many statements. We need to wrestle with some of the shit y'all talk. So I'm for one. I'm all for. I feel like that chat room.
That's a good point.
Half the time, I want to jump in there myself and be like, "Nah, you're wrong on this. I think this." But
that's a good
you
point.
do that at the same time. So I keep that chat room live and kicking. That's just part of the.
Maybe that's another segment.
Education.
That could be a future segment. A future segment where we jump in the chat.
Yeah, that might be a deal. And I'm even proposing that we start pulling folks out of the chat and bring them on. You know what I mean? That might happen too.
That could happen. First, let's get our videos working correctly so that we can get.
Whoa! Try to bomb on the guard. That ain't got nothing to do with us,
brother. Well, that note, it might be time to bring the Ear Doctor back on one last time.
Close us out one time for these next.
Yeah, come on up, man. Oh my goodness.
Yo, y'all hilarious, yo. For real.
Where are you?
What the hell is that?
Another part of revolution is mental health, which I'm sure we're going to get to later this week with Kamal. And somebody just emailed me, and, I'm going to start bringing out these emails that people have things they're going through, and they just want to put it out there and see what the Ear Doctor has to advise them on. So,
advice from the Ear Doctor.
Yeah. So y'all can hang around for this real quick.
I got you. Yes.
I got an anonymous email that said, they want to keep their name out of it. It said, I like your advice on how you deal with ignorant people. With that said, how do you deal with road rage? All right. So road rage for me is I don't deal with it. I don't have road rage because I use empathy. I understand that this person in front of me might be unconscious of what's going on. They might be an elder. They might be coming from getting dialysis to their eyes. There's so many things that might be going on with this other person that's in front of me. So what do? I drive around them. I don't let it get me mad. I don't let it get me upset. I go around them, and let that be something that you use in your life. If something is in front of you blocking it, you can either yell at it, get mad at it, or you can go around. So it's really up to you. And always realize everybody ain't on your level.
Now, do you still? I wish that he would own during our Renegade Culture productions.
I know he'd be yelling at folks doing Renegade Culture. He'd be homing in.
I want y'all to know that we
even our team meetings.
Yeah,
I don't know where this version of the ear doctor comes from. Maybe because we're not in a car causing a problem. That's probably
exactly.
Hey, don't believe the hype out there, people. Don't believe the hype.
We went through.
He got his road rage together, but he don't have his meeting rage together.
Hell no.
Hey, somebody got to get you on point, man. Y'all be on that CP time, and I ain't with that.
Oh, damn. CP time. What is CP, brother? What you trying to say, brother?
Hey, Kalonji. Hey, Kalonji, welcome to Beijing.
Wow. Wow. I propose for us to have more dark-skinned hosts. I think it's a travesty that when I'm one of the darkest hosts on the joint, you know what I'm saying? We're looking for a host as dark as
Serena Williams. Can we get Serena Williams on now?
Oh Lord!
Oh, that's Serena.
My bad, yo.
Little Kim?
It might be out. We might be out, y'all.
I think we've been out when we started. But anyway, we'll see y'all same time, same station tomorrow. Repost this joint right here. Repost the remix. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. You know what I mean? And stay ready for revolution. That's what it's all about. Black out.
Peace.